Hello there, you're watching New Vision TV News. I'm Lynn Komjisha. We start off this bulletin with looking at news around Uganda. Now, the officer in charge of criminal investigations at Kaboa Community Police Station, George Ndianabanji, has been arrested following an investigation that exposed police officers who ask for money before releasing suspects on bond. On April the 3rd, a Vision Group investigative team caught Ndianabanji on camera asking for 100,000 shillings before he settled for 50,000 shillings in order to release a suspect, Rashid Mugenyi, from custody on bond. Mugenyi had been arrested on March the 29th for allegedly stealing chicken. Now, the case investigating officer, Yerokam Olaru, was also arrested. He was also captured receiving cash reportedly for his help in processing Mugenyi's bond. In a special report at the end of this bulletin, we look at the tricks police officers use to extort money from the public to pay for the bond that is free. We also caught up with people who have paid for the police bond and tricks policemen use to get money from suspects.
Simu ziyawerezangako sente ng'asasula kati sente zo yali azimuweereza yali amuguzizza ki oba yatamanyi nti amuwadde sente tamuwadde sente tebamuwadde sente.
Sente ezo bazitujjangako bati kati olwokuba nti embeera bwe yabaawo abantu ne tutya ku kyalo kati nga bwe bajja balambulanga ekyalo ekyo ekiro abasirikale baabeerangamu nga bangi kati nga bw'okomawo ogw'oku kyalo twagendanga ku poliisi chairman yaliwo kuba chairman waffe baali bamusiba bwe yagenda okulipotinga yali Kiguli Elisa baali bamusiba kati nga baterawo chairman w'ekiseera oyo w'ekisagazi abamukwasa erusi zino bbira benga azitambuza era nga bojja bakutwala ku poliisi ne nanyonyola nti ono muntu mutuuze bwati ne bwati nengera abaserikale bo bagamba tavaawo nga tatuwadde eki sente bw'aba talina sente tumugatte kuba bali ekibuga kati olw'okutya toyagala bakutwale naawe okusiba ng'onoonya sente ng'ozibawa.
News coming in from Tororo District. Two former Tororo District Executive Committee members have tried to force their way back into office 2 years after resigning their positions. Jacob Opio was previously the Secretary of Works and Technical Services, while Samuel Odongo served as Secretary of Health and Education. The two quit in February 2017, demanding that a by-election be held to replace Apollo Jaramogi as local council 5 chairperson following his death. At the time, they insisted they could not serve under the leadership of Stella Imukutet, the current acting local council 5 chairperson, whose 6-month acting period reportedly expired already. But after living in political limbo for over 2 years, Opio and Odongo took people by surprise when they stormed the district headquarters, intent on barging into the offices they once occupied, wanting back in. Imukutet said a case of criminal trespass has since been lodged at Tororo Central Police Station against the two men over failure to follow the right procedures. News from Masaka. After a week-long strike that has greatly hurt the sector, fishermen operating at the landing sites on Lake Victoria have resumed work. They had suspended fishing activities to pave way for better purchase prices of the fish they caught, especially the Nile perch. Oloysius Juko, the Bukakata sub-county chairperson, said the suspension of activities had severely affected thousands of fishermen dealing in tilapia and Nile perch. He said thousands of people who earned from the fishing activities on Lake Victoria could not have survived any longer if the suspension had continued. From Kagadi, residents of 33 villages in Kagadi sub-county have resorted to raising funds and materials to construct a health center, which they say has been long overdue. The most affected people in the area are women who say they have to walk for over 10 kilometers to access health care, either from Kagadi Hospital or Isunga Health Center 3. And according to what they say, it is very costly and unreliable. Rovinsa Nsimenta, a mother from Busarabo village, says that sometimes by the time they reach Kagadi Hospital, they find that the health workers have stopped working for the day. Orupa Itungo, who is also a mother and doubles as parish councillor for Kanyongoma, says that sometimes they decide to forego immunization and other antenatal services when they have no money to meet the costs. From Karamoja, unrelenting temperatures in most parts of the Karamoja sub-region have forced families to relocate to shady seasonal riverbeds and sleep in the open following prolonged dry spell in the area. The worst hit areas are Rupa and Katikekile sub-counties in Moroto district, as well as several villages along the Uganda-Kenya border in Kabong and Kotido districts. Sustained dry winds coupled with sweltering temperatures of up to 41 degrees centigrade have made life difficult for residents and their animals. Petero Romuria, an elder of Majala village, said the situation is now threatening the lives of the people. And that's it for news around Uganda. Let's take a break and take a look at what's making headlines around East Africa and the world. Hello, you're watching News Around East Africa. I'm Lynn Komjisha. We start off with Kenya. Now, Kenya is hatching a strategy to use the China-sponsored Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, to solicit funding for the third phase of the standard gauge railway. Kenya's ambassador to China, Sarah Serem, discloses that her government will use the BRI to seek some $3.6 billion from China, noting that talks with China's Exim Bank are already underway. From Tanzania, a member of parliament from the ruling Chama cha Mapinduzi party, Livingstone Lusinde, has proposed that President Magufuli should continue ruling without being elected. He has called on his colleagues to cancel the 2020 elections, arguing that since nobody can defeat President Magufuli, it is better to spend the money for the elections on developmental projects. In South Sudan, South Sudanese are optimistic that Pope Francis' intervention will help resolve their conflict that has left thousands dead. Sudanese delegations led by President Salva Kiir and Vice President Riek Machar are in the Vatican for special prayers with the Pope and other religious leaders for their country. In Uganda, there are conflicting reports over the ending of an American hostage crisis in Uganda. Security officials indicate that the kidnappers, who were holding an American citizen and her local guide from Queen Elizabeth National Park, released their victims when they realized they were getting surrounded and could be arrested or neutralized any time. But the Minister of State for Tourism, Godfrey Chiwanda, says ransom money was paid to the kidnappers. Away from the East African region, we take a look at what's making headlines elsewhere in the world. In Libya, UN Chief Antonio Guterres has appealed for an immediate halt to fighting in Libya after strongman Khalifa Haftar's forces claimed an airstrike on Tripoli's only functioning airport. Thousands have fled violence in the capital city, according to the United Nations, since Haftar launched a surprise assault last week, which has left dozens dead. Secretary General Guterres urges the immediate halt of all military operations in order to de-escalate the situation and prevent an all-out conflict. In Mozambique, hundreds of thousands of people are in need of food, water and shelter after Cyclone Idai battered Mozambique, Zimbabwe and Malawi as cholera cases rise. As of Monday, at least 847 people had been reported killed by the storm, the flooding it caused and heavy rains before it hit. In Israel, Israelis are voting today to choose the next party to lead the 21st Knesset in an election that pits incumbent Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu against Benny Gantz, former Army Chief of Staff, with 37 other parties in the running. Israeli citizens aged 18 and over, including those living in illegal settlements in occupied East Jerusalem and the West Bank, are eligible to vote. Israeli law excludes experts currently abroad from voting. The 4.8 million Palestinians living under Israeli military occupation in East Jerusalem and the West Bank, as well as Gaza, do not have voting rights. News coming in from Washington, D.C. The U.S. State Department has barred entry to 16 Saudi nationals over what it described as their role in the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. The announcement by Secretary of State Mike Pompeo comes as the Trump administration faces pressure from Congress over its response to the killing in the Saudi consulate in Istanbul last October, which sparked unprecedented international scrutiny of the kingdom's human rights record. That was news around East Africa and news making headlines around the globe. Next is our Pearl of Africa series. That was news around East Africa and news making headlines around the globe. Next is our Pearl of Africa series. River Mpanga. River Mpanga is located in Kamwenge district in the western part of Uganda and is one of the many rivers that flow from Mount Rwenzori. It flows through 3 districts to Lake George. Near Mpanga Trading Center, the river flows on a hard rock, creating a fall so strong that a dam constructed there generates 18 megawatts.
A journey set for 5 hours from Kampala, Uganda's capital city, to Kamwenge district in the western region of Uganda is what you must get ready for in order to meet the magnificent River Mpanga. This river flows serenely through the slopes of Mount Rwenzori, its source towards Lake George. Streams from the mountain flow to the bottom and collect themselves into what we call River Mpanga. As the tradition is with Uganda's water bodies, Mpanga is surrounded with vegetation. This includes grass, flowers, trees, and medicinal plants. These grow on both sides as they feed on Mpanga's water to keep green. Yellow flowers are the most notable here since they blossom through the green plants. One can mistake them to be the sunflowers, not with these clearly spread petals. From a distance, Mpanga's modification makes you think that God took his time to design it. This beauty makes everyone who really understands nature speechless. Even if you decide to view it from the plains, the sight of the calm water gives you a reason to calm your body no matter the weather. This river traverses the districts of Kabalore, Chenjojo, Kamwenge, and then pours its water into Lake George. People enjoy swimming from here. Besides swimming, hikers also climb the hills as they enjoy the cool breeze surrounding the hills.
For more Pearl of Africa series, visit our website www.newvision.co.ug/Pearl of Africa. You can also get a copy of the Sunday Vision every Sunday that carries a number of adventures in there. And now we take a look at what's making news in the business world with the Handshake. Hello there, my name is Lynn Kobdisha. This is the Handshake here on New Vision TV. Paul Bushariz is with me here to make a few, make us understand a few things here and there. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So there are bank regulations that were put in place for every bank, I hope, to, follow and act on. And somehow these banks are failing. They're having issues, complying with these regulations that were set. Would you know of any of these regulations?
Well, so banks make their money from borrowing.
Okay.
But in certain circumstances, people can default on their loans.
Right.
Now, if there's a way that the banks measure the risk of a loan going bad, and if let's just say you have a 100,000 shilling loan that looks like it's going bad, so you should be able to put some money aside in anticipation of that loan going bad. They call it provisioning. So under the new rules, they are saying that it will not be enough to provision. You know, you've handed out the loan, and then you've seen it going bad. Then you provision actually in the past, as if you've already handed out the loan. Now the new rules are expecting banks to look forward and say this loan is tricky or not, and provision. I'm sure they'll have a formula for doing that. You know, if it is lien has a certain record of repayment or not, you can provision. I think they'll have a formula for that. So they want people to provision going forward. The banks, however, are saying that that some banks, not all, but some banks are saying the data requirements, the amount of information they need to be able to project into the future is what is challenging them. Yeah.
That's all that is challenging them.
Well, I think that's the major challenge, as I read in the paper. But okay, maybe the question then would be, why would the Bank of Uganda be doing this kind of thing? First of all, I think it's an international requirement. Okay. But it's also to ensure that banks are more focused on risk. It's all very nice passing out the money, but how? What is the chance of you getting it back? Yes. So I think the central banks are trying to get banks to have a more serious discipline about lending. When you lend, you better make sure it comes.
In a situation where they don't pay back, what happens?
Exactly, and especially since you're lending depositors money. Yes. So you can't go to the depositor and say, you see. No stories. The deposits are supposed to be protected. So this is a way to mitigate against the risk of default of these borrowers.
What would they do to, comply? What do they need to do?
I think some of them, the argument is that they just don't have enough data. So, for example,
what do you mean enough data?
I suspect what is happening is that many times as people, we don't stay with our banks very long. I have a better deal the other side, I move. And I think there might be a challenge in getting all this data together to assess lien's risk of default. Now, if you can't assess it, you need past history. Of course, if it's your first loan, they probably have a standard. First-time borrower will provision, will put this aside as saving to guarantee against the loan. But if you've been borrowing over time and you're not with the same bank, then I think that's the challenge they are saying is they have to be able to assess properly.
Paul, away from that, Uganda Airlines planes are almost here. What is that smile on your face supposed to mean? Well,
I think it's a bad idea. No, I don't think it's a bad idea. I think it is an idea that the Uganda Airlines reviving it it's going to be more work and more resources than we think. The people who have pushed this airline have not been entirely honest with the people, with the government about what this is going to cost us. Right. Well, the planes are going to come. Let them come.
But why are they under pressure to revive it?
Well,
do they just want to fit in with the rest of the East African countries?
I don't know what the pressure is really. There are more urgent things. There are more urgent things to do. And there are more profitable things in the sense of, if I invest in like education or I invest in health, the returns are much more better for this economy than if we put in an airline which is not going to make a profit for the next 10 years or so.
Anyway, Paul, we cannot stop it. They're already on their way.
They're on their way.
Yeah.
What to do?
So one more interesting thing is that the Mineral Wealth Conference is on at Munyonyo for 3 days. And I'm told this is a big deal for the sector because it brings together all the sector players. However, I don't understand it's an annual thing.
It's an island.
What exactly?
It's an oil and gas, oil and gas conference. But this year is particularly interesting, yes, because in June this year is when we expect the oil industry players to attain what they call a final investment decision. That they have laid out their plans, their projections of how much money they will make, what it will cost to lay down infrastructure, set up offices and all that kind of business. And that when that final investment decision is signed off, that's when the money starts coming through. So June is the time everyone expects it to happen this year.
Right.
So this conference is going to be a lot about then what are we going to do, what's going to happen, what can we expect, and all that kind of business.
All right.
It's kind of interesting.
That's really good. Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
In our special report series today, we continue with the Bond on Sale series that is running on all Vision Group platforms. We bring you the tricks police officers use to extort money from the public to pay for bond that is free. Now, Vision Group's investigative project is supported by the Democratic Governance Facility. The Bond for Sale story will run as a series which will highlight a number of issues.
Medi Chirimutu is a resident of Kaliao in Ramata, Chiboga district, where 5 people were killed at the residence of the LC1 chairperson in 2015. The deceased included landowners who had come from Nansan in Wakiso district to meet the squatters on their land. However, the squatters took matters into their own hands and lynched them out of fear that they were going to be evicted from the land. Chirimutu says he was shot and disabled by a policeman intentionally. He has consequently been bedridden ever since that nasty encounter. Chirimutu also mentioned another policeman who repeatedly asked for money from the people who are suspected to have killed the 5 people.
Ngasasula kati sente ze yali azimuwereza yali amuguzizza ki oba yatamanyi nti amuwadde sente mbwe tamuwadde sente tabamuwadde sente.
David Chibuka, also a resident of Kaliao in Ramata, Chiboga district, alleges to have paid police officers at Chiboga Central Police Station close to 300,000 shillings when he returned to the village he says he was scared of due to the rampant killings.
Sente ezo bazitujjangako bati kati olwokuba nti embeera bwe yabaawo abantu ne tutya ku kyalo kati nga bwe bajja balambulanga ekyalo ekyo ekiro abasirikale baabeerangamu nga bangi kati nga bw'okomawo ku kyalo twagendanga ku poliisi chairman yaliwo kuba chairman waffe baali bamusiba bwe yagenda okulipootinga yali Kiguli Elisa baali bamusiba kati nga batuterawo chairman w'ekiseera oyo w'ekisagazi abamukwasa erusi zino bbira benga azitambuza era nga bojja bakutwala ku poliisi ne nanyonnyola nti ono muntu mutuuze bwati ne bwati naye ngeri abaserikale bo bagamba tavaawo nga tatuwadde eki sente bw'aba talina sente tumugatte ku bali ekibuga kati olw'okutya toyagala bakutwale naawe kusiba ng'onoonya sente ng'ozibawa.
Apart from a few policemen who boldly ask for bond money from relatives or friends of suspects in custody, many of them do it stealthily. As a result, they employ a number of tricks to get this money. Here are some of them. Our investigations have established that the amount of money policemen ask for does not only depend on the offense registered against the suspect, it also depends on the number of visitors a suspect gets. If a suspect gets many visitors while in detention, you will hear policemen talking amongst themselves that this person seems to have so many people. That statement alone means that they believe that such a suspect's relatives or friends can easily pull together much more money compared to a suspect who does not get any visitors. In fact, some of the suspects who do not get visitors at all and are on petty offenses are released on bond without paying any coin after about 2 days. David Intalo, no true names, revealed this to us. As a way of ensuring that the suspect's relatives quickly part with money, policemen threatened that they are about to take the suspect to court. This was the case with Rashid Mujenyi, the suspect whose bond payment process we witnessed and paid at Kaboa Community Police Station. It was also a case with Robert Intalo, whose case was at Intula Police Station. Many people look for the money and pay because they do not want to go to court. In some cases, policemen use brokers, well known to police officers and crime preventers, who act as middlemen when someone has been arrested. These brokers negotiate the amount of money to be paid. In one of the cases we witnessed, a broker came to a suspect's relatives and told them that the officer in charge, the OC, wanted 300,000 shillings. The family said they had half of that money, which is 150,000 shillings. The two parties at the end settled at 180,000 shillings, which was paid. However, there is also a possibility that the amount the broker told the suspect's relatives was inflated, since there was no direct contact between the two parties. In other cases, suspicious police officers use mobile money numbers that are registered in numbers of other people, perhaps relatives of police officers. It is on such mobile money numbers where the policemen ask relatives of suspects to deposit the money before they grant them bond. Also, since many people get tired of detention after only one day, policemen use this as a trick to extract money from suspects' relatives. They will tell you that if you have not got the money, then the suspect will spend another night in the cell. This prompts relatives to look for the money through all means. Some even borrow or sell their property to get out of jail. This was revealed by Joshua Trix Mutebi, a music producer and promoter in Kawempe, who has ever been a victim to this trick. The Assistant Inspector General of Police and Police Commissioner Asan Kasenja says there are circumstances when the public report to the police about such extortions.
Ekituufu kyo kiri nti twogedde tusomeseza abapoliisi tubasensitizinze tukoze buli kimu teri wawe tayogera oba tugenze ku radios oba tugenze mu social media oba n'ebipande byoyogeddeko tubikubye ne tubiteeka mu office naye abantu bakyasasula ki bakyasasula police bond obwo bwe buzibu kati oba okusomoozebwa kwe tulina.
The series on police bond on sale continues on New Vision TV, and in our next episode we shall look at what experts say about this investigation.
And that's all we had for you. Thank you for watching. For more stories, visit our website www.newvision.co.ug/video. Follow us on social media, Facebook, New Vision, on Twitter, @NewVisionWire, on Instagram, @NewVisionWire, and follow me as well on Twitter, @LynUG3.